Alright, so I'm going to start from the back. I'm just going to show you all the components of how pieces that I did it, not necessarily the order of how what I did them in, just so you can see how it's put together. Okay, so first I drilled a hole in this little fin right here so that I could put this locking carabiner or whatever that's called in there. And then I took a Home Depot, this is probably shit zinc, whatever it is, but I think it's stainless steel, but I don't know. It's held up so far. I expect it'll eventually wear out, but I took one of these, put it through there, locked it down. And then I used some paracord to go from this side right here. So I tied it off right there on that little hole down through the pulley and back up, the other side here through one of these pulleys here. Now I have one of these if you don't have one of these, and this is the last thing I did, so you don't need this to make it run. This is just handy so you can lift it up. So what this does is when I pull on this, which I threaded up through the front, I could pull on this, and then that leverage lifts this thing out of the water as I'm coming in. But I put that on last. So just FYI, I have one of these. Now I did have to I went to Home Depot and looked for like little rubber washers or gaskets and stuff. And I cut a couple of those down so that this thing is outside this ridge right here. So you can see how that's in there. And that just makes it so it clears, otherwise it binds underneath here potentially. So it's not crucial, but anyway, that's that. Then I took another one of those little washers so you can see what this gasket thing looks like. I took one of these, and I think this came in a pack of 2. I cut them down to fit back here, and then I cut this one. I left this one whole. And then once this was on, I let it hang all the way down, and I tied this on so that when it goes all the way down, it won't go past this. So that way this line doesn't fall and foul up the prop, right? So that's that. Okay. Now obviously the mount itself, you have the same mount. You just put the 4 bolts in, tighten it down, that's it. This thing exists as it does. I did not take the locking mechanism out. I just left that all the same. And then you just obviously clamp it on here. So that's that. And then this is the steering bracket. I put it up fairly high on the thing here so that it goes down deep enough and gets me under the water. But you can play with that obviously through these bolts. So these front and back bolts, this one here and this one here, you tighten on first and then you use these to kind of cinch it, and then that holds it in place pretty well. I extended, I think these are the ones that came with it. I'm not sure, but I think these are actually the ones that came with it. These don't hold up very well this way, but that's fine. They work fine. Okay, so I'm going to keep going with the motor, and then we'll talk about the steering. Okay, so cutting it down. I cut this. I went to some video on YouTube about cutting it down. I had a pipe cutter, which by the way is a lot easier. But you just pop the head off. You can find videos on this all over the internet, but pop the head off. Then I measured this thing at 2.5 feet or whatever it was I wanted, at whatever they recommended in the video. And then I cut that off so that just the wires were sticking out. And these are all the wires. Everything in here is all the wires that came with it, including the white, brown, and green ones. I don't use those anymore. You only need the red and black ones, but those are all in there. And then I just used tape. So I used the plastic crap you get at at Home Depot. I just bought a bag of that. And then I taped this off. I didn't do the whole L thing because it seemed like a waste of time. And so that's it for the motor. Okay, so for steering, so what I did is obviously carabiners, a loop, and these are the little clamps that you get. They look like figure 8s until you squish them down. but they're like little figure eights. You put one end in and the other end in, and you clamp it, and that makes it look like that. And I did that on both ends there. And then I drilled, so that's that. Then I drilled out the holes here with a 1/4 inch, and the other side 1/4 inch. And then this is the tubing that, you know, the 1/4 inch or whatever it is, tubing that you bought, so the drip tubing. And I drilled those two through there, up through this spot right here by the little exit here. So there's no dot on this side here. It's just right in the middle of this wall, right above the steering pedals, or the, I guess whatever these would be called if you weren't steering, but anyway, through the steering pedals. And then I drilled those 2 holes. I fed the tube through longer than it needed to be, so I measured it, and then I fed it through. And so I would recommend going from the front here and then feeding it through the back, opening that back hatch, and then reaching in. Okay, and so those are the steering. So then you feed that, once you get the tubing in, then you feed the wire through. The wire then pops out here. There's already a little hole right here. You don't have to drill your own. I mean, I think I might upgrade to the steering kit later, but you know, for now this works fine. And I fed this through here, through this hole here, out the back, and then I positioned these when it was all the way down, so that when it was all the way back here, it was turned. So like when it's back here, the motor was turned all the way that way, and then I pulled, so like this here, trying to explain, this went all the way back, then I made it somewhat taut, and I'll show you. And this is not a good perfect example because this isn't all the way up, but this was turned, right? Since it's not all the way down, it won't turn the full extent. Maybe I should find something to get it lifted up a little higher. Hold on, I'll stop this, start another one.